Looks like someone's been hacking away with that with a big knife. Still smoking, just the way I like it. That's one part down and many more we had to replace to get the fuel trim right on this ether. Well, I'm as busy as ever, but this video is going to teach you and you're going to learn quite a lot about what happens when you have a lean condition. Usually there are air leaks, aren't there? So what we're going to do is we're going to use the smoke machine on this one, find the leaks, but then we're going to look at the fault codes, and then following that we're going to look at the live data, and we're going to show in this video why when you have a lean condition the DME does what it does by trying to increase the fuel trim. So basically it'll add fuel, then eventually it won't be add enough fuel to get, you know, back to Lambda 1 if it's running lean, like the controller's at 1.21 I think on this car. Then what'll happen is it'll just max out and set a fault code for max enrichment. Then you can't do any more and it'll just stick at 1.21 all day long basically. So Lambda 1.2, so it's like super lean. Obviously Lambda 1 is normal, stoichiometric. Anything sort of like 0.99, that's too rich. 1.01, that's too lean. So 1.21 on this guy, it's mega lean. Car's an old E39, it's 2001. I'm actually stood in front of an M5 at the moment, it's not that car. And this particular vehicle has done 300,000 kilometers. Not the best car, not really very well looked after. And the engine is an M52. So let's watch this one. Let's all learn how to diagnose lean conditions, how to find it and how to fix it. Let's go. So let's go into this and look at the fault code so we all know what we're dealing with. Basically it's a typical 20-odd-year-old car. That's the sort of thing I get regular. A couple of misfires. But there we've got the fuel trim, bank 1 and bank 2. And some more misfires. And then permissible range exceeded on both banks. That's not good, is it? So what that actually means, permissible range, is once it gets so far, let's say it's 25% and it's trying to sort of reduce the fuel by that amount, it just gives up really, and it can't really reduce it anymore because it's got an active leak. But in this case it's more lean on one bank and a little bit rich on the other. Not that rich actually on bank 1 I think. Bank 2 it's mega lean. This one here now, you can see it's kind of all over the place. I just waited for me to stop scrolling there. The trim was something like 0.88, which means it's dead rich, mega rich. 0.87, there we are, and 1, which is perfect. But actually at this point the engine, the oxygen sensors, they're not really doing anything at the moment really. They're not active, you see, because they're not warm enough. So what's actually happening is we're waiting for, as you can see, the engine is 11.9 degrees. It's absolutely stone cold. So once they actually come online, you'll start to see that they start to do the switching what they need to do, and then you see that we've got a massive problem with the fuel trim. So we'll just cut to that bit now and we'll fast forward all this boring stuff. So I skipped all that bit while the engine was warming up. The heaters had finished and everything was hot, so everything came online. Slightly rich, cylinders 1, 2 and 3, bank 1 at 0.97, which is a rich Lambda 0.97. Bank 2, 1.28, let's call it Lambda 1.3. For some reason on the thing too, it didn't show any of the fuel trims, which is additive and multiplicative mixtures. Don't know why. It's very unusual as that. Equally, there was a few issues with the sensor data, but when I used this, it was a bit better. And here we've got the Lambda controller on bank 2, and you can see there now it's just going leaner and leaner and leaner. And then we need to find out why. Obviously the main cause for lean mixtures is air leaks. Rich mixtures it's a bit more tricky to diagnose, but lean mixture it's dead easy. So we'll go into that in a minute, but here's a quick video first to show you a little bit about what fuel trims are and how they work, just in case you're not sure. So welcome to my little blackboard, and I'm going to just give you a very quick brief, by all no means exhaustive introduction into this topic, just a basic recap for everybody. So when we have a rich exhaust, when the Lambda picks up a rich mixture, because there's too much hydrocarbons in there, the fuel is actually decreased, and it basically reduces the amount of fuel injected into the engine to bring it basically up to Lambda 1, or as close to Lambda 1 as possible. And obviously on scan tools you'll see a minus value, as I've wrote there, obviously because it's trying to reduce the fuel by a factor of that percentage. And it does vary from manufacturer to manufacturer, so don't be too hung up on how it logs. But in this car, although we have a slight rich mixture on one bank, the main bank, which is bank 2, We have a super lean, reminder, Lambda 1.3 almost, which is crazy, crazy lean. So when we have a lean exhaust mix, as this car has, what the DME will try to do is it'll try to increase the fuel. It'll try to put more fuel in the engine by keeping the injectors open that bit longer to bring it back up to Lambda 1. And again, you'll see that as a plus value, as I've put there, plus 2.5 or whatever. But in our car, if I could have seen the fuel trims, I would imagine it would have gone to about 25%, plus 25, because that's kind of the maximum. And when you get to that maximum, there's nothing it can do, and it'll set the fault code that we saw for maximum fuel trim exceeded. I actually did a short on this. As you can see, it's a brand new mass airflow sensor, Hella. And it's a good old classic example of customers, not just customers, some mechanics too. We've got a lean condition, we haven't got a clue what's wrong with it, let's change the mass airflow sensor. Well, basically no. You've got a smoke tester, use it. If you haven't, buy one. The air mass meter probably cost as much as what a smoke testing machine would cost. And it drives me mad that people just think that by changing the mass airflow sensor, especially on the M52, if you know this engine, it has the same leaks on any M52. So we're going to go through that now, and we're going to start smoke testing, and we're going to fix this fuel trim problem once and for all. And the air intake did actually look like it had been stabbed with a knife from the inside out when they were reshaping it. I don't know what happened there, but it was pouring out. That's probably one of the worst leaks on the whole car, actually. So I swiftly decided to go in the parts department pretty damn pronto. And luckily for us, we had all the parts pretty much in stock. So in the end, new oil cap, fixed one leak. I also changed the fuel pressure regulator vacuum line, changed this rubber elbow also. And the result was, after changing all of those things, including the washer that was leaking on the rocker cover, or the cam cover, it actually fixed the problem. As you can see, we ended up, once the car had been round the block and had warmed it up, with a very respectable Lambda of just over Lambda 1, which I was incredibly happy about. Bearing in mind, this is a really old car. What I didn't do, sadly, because time constraints and all that business, I didn't manage to make a video of the engine after, because it was running so beautifully, and it's a real shame I didn't do that. It's kind of an anti-climax to this video, so I do apologise for that. But really, I didn't see any point in showing you how I fit a rubber elbow or how I fit a rubber washer to a cam cover. The purpose of this video, and it's one of the shortest videos I've ever done, is just to give you an idea of how many people are changing mass airflow sensors and why they're changing them. There's no need. On this engine, it's such a well-known engine, it has the same fault. You had oil leaking, vapour leaking from the oil filler cap, it had a washer leaking on the cam cover, 3 rubber bungs at the back was split on the engine. Then we also had the vacuum line to the fuel pressure regulator, which was also leaking. And then we had this rubber elbow leaking as well. After I'd fixed all that, we ended up with this amazing fuel trim. Guy was made up, but he was a little bit unhappy that he'd spent like over €100 on a new air mass meter. But there you are. He got told by a garage, change your air mass meter, it's faulty, and it wasn't. And that's all you need to know. So until next time, keep spannering, and let's all learn together for free. Thanks for watching. Bye.